Good evening, everyone.
Hi.
Welcome to another live stream of the Paranormal Chronicles, connected, of course, with the Old King's Head. Um, just let me have a look. I'm just double checking that we're going out everywhere I want it to, which I just told my computer to broadcast it live, so it should be going out everywhere now.
Oh, is it
Um,
on your page now?
you can, I'd say I made it public, yes.
Yeah, okay.
Um, this is the latest in our series of connected talks of paranormal things and subjects. And as you can see tonight, we've got Mandy and Holly, and they have been regulars at Plasteg. Um,
And the
uh,
King's
wh- and the King's Head. I was just going to come to that. And more lately, more recently at the King's Head as well in Chester. And when I put a message out asking people if they wanted to come along and give talks about their various paranormal interests and subjects, Mandy and Holly came forward and said they would talk about Ouija boards, which is obviously a little bit of a contentious sort of subject. But if we don't tackle these things, then we're not going to get anywhere. So they're going to come along and give us a bit of a talk and tell us what they know about using Ouija boards, history and uses and such like. And if there's any questions, pop them in the messages and we'll pass them on. And I can see Steve's already there in the background, so we might be asking you some questions.
Hi, Steve.
Hi, Steve.
So if you two are okay, I will put you
Yeah.
two up on page if I can remember how to do it. No, it wasn't that one. I'll get there. I just there you go. We'll leave it at that.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's
God.
right. Yeah.
I don't
Okay.
know. Like,
Stop being embarrassed, Holly.
Cool. So we're here today, and we're going to try and talk about Ouija boards or spirit boards, as some people call them.
the dangers, what to do, all that. So basically, the Ouija board was created in 1891, but it was repurposed, I think, in the early 60s, as a board game that children used to play. And it was actually made by Hasbro, which is weird to think about because that means the people who made My Little Pony made Ouija boards, which is weird to think, isn't it?
Yeah, very much. Yeah.
So go on, Mum.
Yeah. So the Ouija board, the film The Exorcist come out to do with the Ouija board, where a girl got possessed by going on this Ouija board on her own, and she had a spirit called
Captain Howdy.
Howdy that come through. She thought it was a friend, and eventually it possessed her. So the film The Exorcist is what people have known to associate with Ouija boards, and obviously they are afraid to use them.
It's given them a bad reputation because whenever you say like Ouija board, people think like The Exorcist, that film Ouija that came out not so long ago, and they all portray Ouija boards as this evil thing you need to be wary of.
Yeah, so you can use Ouija boards, without any, problem at all if you're don't treat it, as a bit of a joke. You've got to be serious when you're using Ouija boards.
Yeah, well, try and not consume alcohol while doing it because when you've had alcohol, you're not as sensible. So you may ask for bad spirits, you may do things that will upset spirits.
So Ouija boards, you can buy them on the internet, which behind us we've got a wooden one, We've also got one we've made ourselves. You can make them yourselves quite easily.
You could even just get a piece of paper and write down letters and get a glass and it'll work.
So there's two things that you can use on a Ouija board. There's a glass, which we prefer to use because
more energy.
Yeah, and it also is quite, it moves more smoothly.
Yeah.
Or you can have a planchette, which is like a arrow-shaped thing.
We've got one there.
We did have.
Yeah, we did have. We did have a planchette.
Yeah, don't know where that's gone. So you can use a planchette, but we prefer the glass because it's more smoother, and also you can actually see the letters and numbers underneath it. So if you go on a Ouija board, you have to open it, and then if you open it properly, ask that no spirits will follow you home or stay with you, and when the Ouija board session's finished, you always have to close it down.
Okay, so basically, with Ouija boards, the one we've got here, it actually came with a list of instructions. And we've learned some stuff we never knew about Ouija boards from this. Basically, it says if the planchette goes in a figure of 8, that means something horrible wants to get to your board. And it also says if it goes to the numbers 9090 over and over again, this means that this evil spirit or whatever it is, it wants to come out of the board to where you are. So if you ever get that, shut the board down immediately.
So you can use a Ouija board, and a lot of people like to use Ouija boards to get in touch with families, that have passed over. They like to get in contact with people. But you can go on a Ouija board and you can get spirits through from the place that you're actually doing the Ouija board in.
Investigating, yeah.
Yeah. Also, you can get evil spirits through. So if you get evil spirits through, and they spell the name Diablo, which is Spanish for devil, Zozo, or Satan, the best thing to do is just come off the board straight away, because you don't want to deal with anything like that, because that is evil. But then saying that, you can have a good session on a Ouija board and you can get a lot of information through from people and spirits.
But you need to be mindful that not all the time when you think it's a family member, it might not be that family member.
Yeah, so you can get a family member through, you can ask questions and it can give you answers, answers that you know about. And then all of a sudden, the glass that's moving can start moving in a different way. So it could be moving quite swiftly and quickly, and then it could start slowing down and juttering.
You can tell it's a different spirit, put it that way. If you have a fast one, and then next minute it's going slow, dragging, you can tell that it's a change of energy.
Yeah, so sometimes the spirits will play around with you. So you'll get answers through that you want to hear, and then it starts talking. It doesn't make any sense. So you do know that there's something else trying to get through at that time.
Yeah, you don't even have to use a board to communicate with spirits. You could just get a glass, put it on a table, do, let's say, circle for yes, straight line for no, ask yes and no questions.
So when you're on the board, you open the board up. So you can have, one person can work, but it's better to have at least two or a few more. Never bombard it with questions. Always like have one person to ask the questions. I mean, other people can, but don't bombard it, because this is when the spirits start getting confused and can't answer properly. Never be aggressive or nasty. Try and be polite. There has been things sometimes where you can be, aggressive with it, but really try not to be.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, you could get through nasty spirits or good spirits, depending who you get through. You may want to be a bit aggressive if it's not a nice spirit, because hi Harry.
I just surprised you. I'm sorry. I pressed the wrong button. The lane jump in. Harry, I'll come back to you in a few minutes. All right. There you go. Sorry about that.
Oh, it's absolutely fine.
Yeah, and also don't try and guess what it's about to say, because this could influence it to spell out something. So let's say you ask it its name. Let's say it goes to S and to A. And someone says out loud, "Oh, is your name Sarah?" And it spells out Sarah. It could have been like influenced by that. It could have been wanting to spell Sam. You don't know.
Don't ever sort of guess what it's saying. Let it go to the actual words that it wants to talk to you and spell out. Don't guess what it's going to say, because as you say, it influences what that it influences what it wants to say. So never do that.
Well, have we got through the flashcards? No, we haven't. Yeah, never do it in your house either. That's what we suggest.
Yeah, because sometimes a spirit can attach itself to you. So if you're on the board, maybe you don't close it down properly, it can follow you home, it can attach itself to you. So our advice: never do it in your house. Obviously, if a friend wants you to do it at theirs, that's fine.
Yeah, that's fine.
But just don't do it in your own house, because we've had experiences where things have followed us back from different places. I've come home one night at 5 a.m. and I've gone to sleep on the settee because I don't want to wake my husband up. And the stereo has come up on its own. It's just turned on its own, and the remote has been actually on the stereo. So I've not been anywhere near it. It's come up and it's playing music. So obviously, I think something was trying to say something.
Yeah, after using a Ouija board, we'll be honest here, we have used it outside because it's not in our house, it's just outside. But even then, we've had things attach themselves to us, come inside with us. Like at 3 a.m. once, we both heard large footsteps across our hallway after using a Ouija board. Around Christmas time, after using Ouija boards, we've had Christmas decorations be ripped off their hinges from the wall.
Yeah. So, we've had different things. I've been in bed and I've had the feeling that somebody sat beside me. You get when somebody sits on the bed beside you, and I've woke up and there's been nothing there. I've had a quilt cover tucked at the bottom of my feet, so something's like trying to get their attention. So it doesn't frighten us at all, because we know that it's nothing evil or anything.
Sometimes if you're into crystals, healing and all that, you can bring some crystals where you're doing your Ouija board and put them next to it if that makes you feel safer. It may bring positive energy.
So, you know, a lot of people, as I say, like to go on it to speak to family members that have passed over. We like to try and get spirits through that are connected with, like, the King's Head or places that we do ghost hunting at, because it's very interesting to find out the different names and, you know, and to look up and see, you know, if the board has come through true to us. So that's quite good. We also get a lot of skeptics. So Halloween a couple of years ago, we were doing a venue at the King's Head, and we had some people on the board, and a lady was on the board, and nobody knew who she was because there was a few other people on the board. Her husband was a skeptic and just stood at the back of her, and the glass was moving. It got through to one of her relatives, and it answered every question she was asking, and even questions that even her husband didn't know about. He accused his wife of pushing the glass, which she wasn't, and it caused a bit of friction. But he kept also bending under the table and looking under to see if there was any sort of mechanism that was moving the glass or whatever. So you do get people that don't believe in it, but the best thing is if you can get a skeptic to start believing in it, that's a bonus for me.
Right. I've just put us all on the screen. Hello again, everyone. Right. First of all, just like to say hi to everyone in the chat room. I'll just go through names of some strange person called Steve Russell. Not sure who he is. Chris Summer, Sam's there, Mal's there. Marcus is there, Kev's there, that's Steve Russell's there again, Danny's there with us, Jack's there with us, Sarah Jane Cleaver, I think she knows you, Holly and Mandy. Roy's there, David West, hi guys, hi to everyone, Ashley Bennett, and of course Harry's joined us from in the pub as well at the moment. And Harry's sitting in his office and I could hear him clicking away because he's got all the cameras at his control now. So I'm guessing you were looking around all the different screens, Harry.
Yeah, basically I've just wrote down every little thing we've captured today. I mean, it captures things every 3-4 seconds with regards to dust, but these are quite significant things that happened last night. So I'm looking forward to you having a look at them, Paul, to be fair. So
I did blank out some of the windows where lights were coming in, but I haven't caught everything yet because that will eradicate some of the false alarms, but that'll just take a bit of time to rule those all out. Mm-hmm. Just go back to the messages because people have been asking questions. Chris Summer said, how long have you both been using a Ouija board?
She started before me.
Yeah, no, I started. I used to have a go with my friend when I was in my 20s, so it's a long time ago. And we asked questions of things that were going to happen. So we asked. The girl that I was with, brother was going to get a new car, and we asked what kind of car he was going to get, and it spelt out a white BMW, and the next day he turned up in a white BMW, which was like amazing. We just couldn't believe it. So I started when I was about 20, but I've been using them for the last three or 4 years maybe.
I started Ouija boards, ghost hunting, everything in about 2018. So when I was 17, that's when I started to use them.
Yeah, we started using them more when we went to Plus Tag. So that's when we started.
This is a question from me then. Have you ever had any what you might loosely call bad experiences? Anything that's disturbed you or that you would just attribute to the board itself?
We've had evil spirits come through once when we were at Plus Tag, and there was a few of us, you know, there was about 3 or 4 of us on the board, and it come through as
Jinn. It was
Jinn, yeah. So the spirit called Jinn, which is an evil spirit, and it actually started to stress me out a bit because when you've got something on the board, you have to say goodbye. You can't leave the board open for it because it might
And
come
it just
through.
kept on going to no.
It wouldn't leave us. It kept going to no. So we took us about an hour to actually shut the board down to get rid of it. So that wasn't a very nice experience, really.
But after that event, did you feel comfortable leaving the property? You weren't troubled at home when you got home from it?
No. Some people are, but it depends on the experiences they've had.
Yeah.
Okay. Harry, have you had any experiences you want to share with us using a board? Because I know you've used them a couple of times.
I think the most significant thing for me really was we'd done an event from the pub downstairs, and there was a girl not taking part in the spirit board. She was sitting to one side, and a little boy called, I forget his name now, but a boy came through the spirit board, and it turns out it was a baby. She lost her. I think he was only about 1 when she lost him, and it was Eric, and Eric came through, and she started to well up, and he said he was fine. He was with his granddad. So I obviously asked if you want me to. Did you want the messages coming through? And she said yes, and Eric then said, "I can't wait to see my baby sister." And nobody realised she was pregnant at the time. So, she wasn't even on the board, and there was no one related to her on the board. So, obviously, there's definitely something that happens. It's definitely a channel to the spirit world in some way.
And she had a daughter in the end.
Well, this is the thing. I never actually found out. But I said nobody knew she was pregnant. She was only in early stages. Another occurrence, again, while we were sitting in the pub, I had a previous manager and the manager at the time, and they were both very much skeptics. And we done the spirit board, and I said, "Could anyone give me a sign that you're here?" And I could hear footsteps running up in the function room upstairs. And it didn't seem that didn't seem much proof for Jack. So I said, "Could you give me another sound?" And then medieval music happened from upstairs, which was really weird. And he actually he stood up and said, "This is a load of bollocks," and his nose started pouring with blood. And he hadn't had a nosebleed from what he said since he was a kid. So I think they're the most the ones that stick in my memory the most, really.
Okay.
I've got a question for Holly, if that's okay.
Yeah, go on, fire away.
I know you've got an infamous follower stalker through the spirit board. And I know you can elaborate on that in a minute. Do you think it's the real person, or do you think it's somebody just pretending to be him?
I honestly don't know, because, well, he gets everything right if it is him. Like, questions I asked about his life, he gets right. But whether it's just some weird demon or something pretending to be him for a joke, I don't know.
I think you best tell everyone who it is.
What?
You need to tell everyone who it is now.
Well, when lockdown was on last year, we got a bit bored, so we'd go on the board every day, or most days. But Holly's really into true crime and all these serial killers, so she asked for Ted Bundy to come through. So ever since then, everywhere we go, if we go on the board, it doesn't matter where we go, this Ted comes through all the time.
Whether it is actually him, we don't know, probably not, but either way, anywhere I go, Ted is. Because at Drakelow Tunnels, we actually did a version of a Ouija board where you put your hands on the planchette and it's got a marker pen attached to it. And we asked him to spell the first letter in his name. And when we took it away, it was T. And I thought, oh, great. Again.
So it just seems to follow her around. We ask questions, and a lot of the questions, if you look back or go on the internet, you find out that what the answers he's give us are basically true.
Yeah.
So.
Okay.
We'll never know.
Mal's asked a question. What do you think of the theory that the psychic power of the mind of the people on the board is what moves the glass rather than an actual spirit energy?
Yeah, I can understand that. So, yeah, so if, say, I'm on the board and a family member comes through, there is the point where are you subconsciously moving the glass to answers? So really the best thing to try is having people that don't know anything about you or your family, and then if something come through, say a name that was a part of you, you could ask questions, but then if they moved it to the right, answers, that would prove that it isn't sort of your mind slowly,
So really, it would take someone to ask you to ask questions that you couldn't possibly know the answer to. Yes. That's fair comment. That's one of my criteria is for any messages from the spirit world is something that you couldn't possibly know the answer or was completely unexpected.
Because when you think about it, if someone's desperately hoping to get a family member through, it's obvious that that'll have a bit of an influence. So
like when we had the group at the King's Head, there was only the one lady on the board and 4 other people that weren't
from
connected,
totally different homes,
and that was coming through answers. So it would be hard for her on her own to push the glass to the answer she wanted, if you know what I mean. If the people actually on the board. So yeah, it's one to be sort of, like
it's part of the subject that everyone is always going to question about. Is it someone on the table that's feeding the answers and giving the answers? But my criteria would be if answers came through that you say you two were on a glass that you couldn't possibly have known, then I would be far more satisfied it was a real answer. That's what I'd be looking for. I mean, I'll just say no, I don't use a spirit board. It's not that I'm frightened of them, but my particular interest in paranormal, as everyone knows, is the technology side. So for me, I'd rather keep that separate. I'm quite happy to be present when people are using them because I'm not part of it. But I prefer to seek answers through technology. But I'm equally as interested, as I just said, for anyone using a Ouija board properly and safely to get proper and relevant answers through. That's really that would satisfy me.
Sometimes if you go on a Ouija board and you get somebody that's a real skeptic, that
it could block
it. So you can go on it and nothing will happen and it won't move or anything. But then as soon as that person goes off the board, you start getting things through. So you can get people that'll block, the spirits coming through.
Just 1 second, Steve, if you're still there, just clarify your question. I'm not quite sure of the question you were answering there. Can you just make it easier for me to read out, please? Thank you. I'm just having a look down the questions again, see if we can find something else that someone has asked. I thought I saw something. Jean's joined us. Hi, Jean. Sheena's there with us. Hi, Sheena.
Hi.
Jack's there. Jean. I'm just looking. David West, he's been to the pub a few times. I don't think you guys have met him, but he said he's used them a few times, experienced both good and bad, but generally keep it positive when you're asking to get good results. Good advice.
Yeah.
I remember. I'm not quite how to phrase it as a question, though, Steve. I was going to mention that question. It's an interesting question, and it will relate very interesting in a minute. Yes.
Not about orbs, is it?
Not about orbs. No. That'll be another program. We'll discuss orbs another time because that's proven slightly interesting as well. So we'll get to that. Sheen has asked the same question that Steve has asked, but I'm just not quite sure how to phrase it. It's audiomotor. Is that how you say it? I can't. I'm not sure how you pronounce it. I'm guessing it's some sort of automatic effect. I'm not quite sure. What I was talking about was several years ago we were at the King's Head, and there was only the three of us. There was myself, Steve, and Steve's girlfriend Michelle, and we were stood behind the upstairs bar, and I had my back to the passageway, looking out towards the front of the building, taking a series of photos. I haven't got the photo to hand. I can't put it up now. But on one of the photos, there was a motion blur across the screen. And when I looked into it, it was only the following week that we went back and we had a look and we tried to recreate the photo or photograph from the same spot. And there was a motion blur that had come across the screen of the lens of the camera from over my shoulder in front of it. And when we were there, Steve pointed out that on the shelf behind me, Harry's Ouija board was there, which was an oblong shape. And I could make out that shape of that Ouija board in that motion blur. Now, it hadn't physically been thrown. It was still there on the shelf. But the shape of it was there as if it had been thrown by the spirit world across in front of me. Now, whether that relates to the fact that I don't use them or I have alternative thoughts about spirit boards, but it was a real photo. It's a very interesting photo as well.
Yeah,
you've seen the photo. I think. Have you seen the photo, Harry? Do you remember that one?
Yeah.
I personally related it to the fact that there was a spirit present who was not happy about spirit boards. But other than that, I can't give any other explanation other than, as usual, it was taking a sequence of photos, and on the previous one there was nothing. There was the emotion blur, and then there was nothing on the following one. So it happened very, very momentary and very, very quickly.
Didn't you have this theory that maybe spirits that are coming through on the board from old times, like Roman times, might have a different understanding of the alphabet?
Yeah, it was actually Richard Felix brought this up some time ago. I was listening to one of his casts, and he was saying that up to a certain period of time, the English alphabet didn't have as many letters as it has presently. Now, I haven't tracked down the time period of when they changed, but I have seen versions of that alphabet, and there are something about, I think there's about 6 different letters of the alphabet not present that's there in the present alphabet. So spellings could be completely different, and therefore understandings could be completely different, as well as terminology and phraseology. So if you're asking a question and you might mention something that's irrelevant to something 200 years ago, I think it could cause confusion. That's just something for us to be aware of and work around. But I love the idea of somebody creating a Ouija board with an old world letter set on it to see if that brings through any answers or anything different. Question. This is Sheen has asked a question. Why do you think...
Thanks for joining us.
Why do you think spirit boards can gain more spiritual communication than a medium does, as it appears that some mediums can't get as many answers? Good question.
Actually, a really good question. You don't have an opinion, no? Okay then. Well, with mediums, I feel like that it's harder for them sometimes to get certain spirits through, because sometimes with mediums I find that maybe it's just me, but they get drained more easily from energy than someone putting their hand on a glass.
And also, the more people you have on a board,
the energy evens out a bit. With mediums, it's just one person who's trying to get.
Bless you, Harry.
Thank you.
Sorry, Holly.
Yeah, it's just one person trying to get a spirit through, and they're using all of their energy.
Yeah. So a spirit board can bring lots of different spirits through.
Yeah.
But as I say, if there's more people on the board, there's more energy there.
Yeah.
I'll just throw this back to Sheena, because is it more difficult then for a medium to focus in and tune in on a particular spirit? Because I've seen with some mediums they can get quite vague answers, and other mediums can get much more insightful answers when they're communicating in the spirit world, and I'm never quite sure what makes the difference when a medium is communicating. How does the channel open up differently for different mediums? That's part of what another stream I want to do, actually, is about how mediumship works. But I just wonder if
I definitely think, to be honest, it's quite similar in a way, because with Ouija boards as well, sometimes when you want to get a certain spirit through, they won't come to the board. We've tried that, haven't we? And sometimes they're not there. So it's probably the same with mediums. Like, if they're trying to get a certain spirit through, maybe that spirit doesn't want to be bothered at the moment.
Yeah. Well, I mean, from my point of view, like technical investigations, we can sit in a room or the King's Head all evening and get very little in the way of positive answers on recordings. And I've been there many times when I haven't received any photographs, got any interesting photos. So you're quite right. It doesn't. The spirit world doesn't respond to requests. They respond when they choose to.
Been at the King's Head, we've had some really good things that have come through about different spirits that are there, and the names, and what relations they are to each other, and that's
all from different time periods as well.
So that's good.
Jean's in the background, and I know Jean's been to Plastag many times, and I'll just ask Jean if what's the most interesting experience she's had coming through on a spirit board or Ouija board anytime. So Jean, if you've got an answer, if you post it up, and I'll put it out there. Jack says she's had an interesting experience with a board at the King's Head, so she's happy to talk about that sometime.
Hi, Jack.
Right, I don't know if I'm pronouncing it properly. Ideomotor phenomena is the psychological phenomena where the subject makes motions uncontrollably. So in other words, all of us will be aware that people will accuse people on a spirit board of moving the glass themselves. And I think Steve's saying it's a psychological phenomena and it's an unconscious phenomena. But then again, as you've answered earlier on, if a very relevant question is asked, and I think this is the careful part of any paranormal investigation, ask the right questions. In particular, ask a question that if it was you two on a board that you couldn't possibly know the answer to.
No,
so that could be, say, a question from Harry about some of his relatives that you wouldn't possibly have known because he's got relatives overseas.
Well, that's happened recently, hasn't it? I asked the question. I went to look at a house, and I asked Holly and Mandy, "Could you ask what the address of the house is?" Obviously, they never knew, and the address came up, and they couldn't know that. They even subconsciously they can't know that. So.
Yeah,
there's
I know. That's a very good example of it. You're quite right, Harry. That's it. I mean, I would love if specific names came through, of deceased relatives, things like that, or in particular, I would say nicknames or pet names or something like that. No one could possibly know. It would only mean something, say, to you, Harry, or to me.
Yeah,
that's what I'd love to hear, things like that. Does that answer your question, Steve? I'm not sure if it does, but I would say asking the specific questions. But Mandy and Holly, if you want, I can get rid of Steve if he's being a nuisance. Sorry.
All you doesn't like him.
All you guys out there, you have to remember, when I do investigations, it's light-hearted, it's fun, we laugh, we have a happy time.
Yeah.
Steve knows I take
that brings more energy in.
Absolutely, I've learned that over the years. Definitely.
And that's it. When you're on a spirit board, it's good to have a bit of a laugh and a joke, but not being silly. Because, as I say, sometimes if the spirits think you're ignoring them, they'll come through more.
Yeah.
You know, and you know.
Yeah.
Sheena's just. Sorry, go on.
I was just saying, sometimes it's good to even just, you know, have a normal conversation, not even about anything paranormal.
Yeah.
And sometimes the spirits chip in
Yes.
on your little boxes.
Well, I was going to mention that over the years that has been quite the case. That early on, when I first came to the King's Head with Julie, that we used to just stand and chat about things, and all of a sudden we seemed to get an elevated response through the devices I use, which were white noise and microphones combined. So yes, I'll agree with you that just normal day-to-day conversation can generate interest. This is going to be a puzzle. I hope Sheena comes back again. Sheena says, yes, they speak to me in different language. They've spoken through me in Latin and French a few times. Does that mean that you had an understanding what was being said to you, Sheena, or is it you were just hearing the words and repeated them out? So I'll wait to see if Sheena comes back with that one. That's an interesting take on it.
That'd be really...
When we've actually been on the board at Plus Tag, we've had spirits come through, and they've been spelling words out which we haven't a clue what they've been saying, but we've had Sam with us who knows Welsh. So
yeah.
It's like words that they were spelling out in Welsh, so she knew what they were saying and we didn't. So
well, ironically, in the background, Marcus has just put. He says one of the reasons I'm learning the Welsh language is to see if it helps us with spirit communication, and it may be able to help understand when we think maybe a load of mixed up letters come through. So yeah, that's an interesting take.
Yeah, that's very true, Marcus.
Yeah.
Right, I was just thinking, if we were to actually do the same again, what we're doing tonight, doing a live spirit board, I'm getting people to ask questions to see if the spirit board might communicate.
That'd be good.
Therefore, obviously, there'd be people watching tonight who could ask a question, and maybe Holly and Mandy might be able to give the right answer through whoever they're speaking to.
Yes, that's a very good idea, isn't it?
Yeah, that's a brilliant
that'd
idea.
be great. Yeah.
I mean, sometimes you do get a load of waffle and you can't understand what it's saying.
Sometimes you get a silly spirit.
But no, that's a brilliant idea. Yeah.
But it just, I mean, obviously, mediums, you can make a phone call and get a reading over the phone. It'd be a similar setup, really, but with a spirit board and stuff.
Yeah, and cameras and live stream and everything.
Yeah.
I can see that.
Hopefully in the near future, when
I was just going to say, coming to a pub from you soon.
Some live vigils there.
Danny's asked a question. Would you think time would be irrelevant to the spirit world? Just a thought. So, in other words, if you're communicating with a spirit, would they recognise that we're in a different time frame? And I don't know the answer to that, but I suspect time does make a difference.
Well, didn't we ask once about the virus as it is now, the pandemic? We mentioned to the spirits, did they realise what year it was, or do they think we're, when there was like a pandemic years and years ago, like the. Yeah,
I think it's actually very relevant, to be honest, because we've had family members actually reference the pandemic on the Ouija board, like they've said about it and said how rubbish it is, haven't they? So.
But like with the, is it the Black Death and all, and that, whether they realise that was then and this is now, or whether it's, sort of similar, or what year that we were in.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, we've got a different understanding of illnesses and diseases, but to speak in a simpler way, yes, it might make a connection. I can see that. Jack's just made a joke by Jack has written a sentence in Welsh and I can't possibly pronounce it. I don't understand what it is. So thanks, Jack. That's no help at all. I can't even read the words out. And Steve says he'll go into more of what he was talking about the next time we meet.
Okay, that's good.
Right, here's a question. Roger Hornsby. How do you know when a Ouija board is closed down, that is actually closed and nothing follows on afterwards?
So when you've been on the Ouija board, whatever spirit you're talking to, if you want to end the session, you have got to make sure it goes to goodbye.
When it goes to goodbye, me and Mum, we're certain that we won't get any trouble.
Yeah, and I normally turn the glass upside down, the other way.
Like, kind of trap.
So you know that it's closed down properly. And then, obviously, before you go home or when you're at home, you always sort of just say, any spirits, don't follow us home, stay with the board, sort of thing. So you know in yourself that you've shut the board down properly. Don't ever, sort of take your finger off the glass and then just put it away without saying you've got to go to goodbye. And that's how you shut the board down.
Yeah.
And that has always worked. You've never had a problem by using that method then?
No.
Fair enough. Good. It's one of the things that was on my mind as well. That are you happy that the procedures that you do actually, they do fully work for you? But you are obviously very happy about that.
Oh yeah.
Sometimes we've had forgotten to say goodbye and shut it down, and I think that's when we've had the experiences here.
Only the very odd time.
Yeah, only the very odd
But
time.
mostly you go to goodbye and then you know that spirit's gone and you say goodbye to it.
You see, in the pub here, we've had hundreds of ghost hunters pass through the doors, whether it be groups who are paid to do an event here or just people coming to stay in the rooms. And I know for certain that there's, loads of them have had spirit boards. I wouldn't think most of them would have known how to close it off. Yet it doesn't feel, the atmosphere never really changes in here, as if there's some evil entity or something that's just been released in the pub. I love it to happen to see what
I think what it is, Harry, if you get an evil entity through, which they probably don't when they're at the King's Head, they probably just get spirits.
The King's Head's actually quite a nice place.
Yeah, so you'll get spirits from the King's Head and the past and that there. So I can't see you'll ever get an evil, horrible spirit through.
Yeah, no.
So, I mean, if you did and they didn't close the board down, you never know. But, I think the only person at the King's Head at the moment is that Earl Spencer, who's horrible. So
he comes through all the time. He seems to dominate the board all the time at the moment.
Yeah.
So.
And I'll just mention that Earl Spencer was actually an EVP recorder we made probably about 3 or 4 years ago now. Totally unknown name and unknown character. And I strongly suspect it's Earl as in Earl as the first name, not a title. So I know he has come through on the board, but from my point of view, it bears relevance because I caught an audio recording of him. So for me, it bears relevance and interest.
Yeah.
Jack says she's also learning Welsh. Michael Gibson, he says he's made the mistake of not closing down properly, so maybe he'll start to do that a little bit more often.
We know what happened to Michael.
Oh, right, okay. Roger Hornsby's come back and he says, okay, what's the significance of turning the glass upside down after? And does a spirit understand the word goodbye?
Well, I presume so, because when you say, goodbye, say goodbye, it will go to goodbye. So I should imagine, it does. I turn the glass upside down for my own peace of mind, so I'm not letting anything back in. It's just whatever's there's gone.
Yeah. Kind of like you're trapping it.
So I turn it upside down.
Yeah.
And then if I want to go back on it again, I'll put it back the other way. and then hopefully get a spirit through. But I don't know whether other people do that, but I do that for my peace of mind.
Well, I don't know what you do if you use a planchette, because we hardly use those.
Yeah, they're a bit more.
We feel that they're a bit more stilted.
A bit awkward to use, I think.
Yeah.
Sam says she always opens and closes properly. And going to what you just said, David West says we always turn the planchette over after saying goodbye.
Yeah.
So it's not unconnected.
Yeah.
We had one there, but we've lost it.
It's valid.
Yeah.
David,
everything.
you were prepared, but it all went out the window.
Yeah.
And David West has said when they're doing a spirit board, they tend to explain to the spirits where the numbers and letters are and explain the effect of hello and goodbye, which can be a good thing as well.
Yeah, you can do that when you open it up and that.
We sometimes go to all the letters and numbers, so you know
the
where they're
located. Or move to the numbers and letters so they know where everything is.
Yeah. Harry, have you ever come across anybody being really silly and I won't say dangerous, but on the point of being reckless in the pub? Because as you say, loads and loads of people have come through, haven't they? Different ghost hunting groups and the public.
The only real dangerous things for me is the set candles all up in the rooms. It's like a vigil. Set the alarms off, wake everyone up in the middle of the night. And that's the most annoying thing for me. But I don't think there's any like rituals or spirit board that it's being used. It's kind of worried me a little bit. I was going to ask a question in regards when I first done Plasteg, which was to be about 10 years ago. We were with a medium who you know, Paul Ewan.
Yes.
And Ewan had been invited at the time to cleanse a couple of the resident ghost hunters at the time. I think Kev might have been there and Marcus at the time. I was going to ask, do you think that would have been connected through a spirit board or just through the building itself, attaching themselves and taking it home to you? Obviously, I can't hear what they're saying, so if
Well, was it... were people being asked to be cleansed, or was he just saying they needed to be cleansed?
No, people supposedly from you and people asked to be cleansed, and we went outside. He had the sage, and he was doing all that outside. But I can't remember who was there specifically. But I'm presuming Kev was there because I knew Lisa at the time, and I'd seen Marcus in there a few times. So I was just wondering whether that was related to a spirit board or whatever evilness Plasteg can take home with you sometimes.
Yeah, but I think it can just be the location. Doesn't have to be the board, does it?
Yeah.
That can attract things. Because last time, like ages ago, at the King's Head, I remember, I think on a recording call, we got a woman through. Whether it was a lady of the night or I don't know, but basically that night I remember, I don't know whether you remember this, Mum, I heard whimpering of a woman, and I actually came down to Mum and asked if it was her, but yeah, no, it wasn't, but I feel like that might have been the lady, maybe.
Right.
May have came from the King's Head.
Well, we have heard ladies and female voices through technology a number of times over the years. I think the story is getting a little bit stronger now with the Ladies of the Night connection, which is more recent. So that's something we'll follow and keep an eye on more and more.
We seem to hear at the King's Head a lot of women, like a woman's crying or like a hello or whatever. I think that's related to, is it Anna or somebody that we keep getting through the King's Head?
Mal and Steve heard a woman's voice. saying hello near
room 6.
Oh, well, it wasn't hello, was it? It was yes.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's here quite often in here, and
Yeah.
I think you know the lady who stays here, Margaret. She keeps telling me that every morning around 7:30 she hears a woman's voice waking her up at the moment. And she's never really mentioned anything before, and she was like, "Should I be concerned, Harry? I don't know who the lady is." And I was like, "Well, it might be one of the spirits." And then she was fine with that, to be fair. I think sometimes the living's a bit more scary than the dead. Yeah. So.
Well, I'll agree with that. Being a taxi driver for many years, I was definitely more concerned by the living world than the spirit world. Definitely. I'm just reading through Mal's saying, Paul, it might be a good online experiment. Would you have some room in the King's Head, maybe to ask questions? Mandy and Holly in the other room, live streaming. So yeah, we'll work something out. Yeah, even to divide the rooms. So we'll work out some form of experiment. I think there's a lot of scope in doing some experiments like this, and especially with people asking questions that we don't know, strangers to us, but coming through the stream like this and passing messages. It's an experiment, but it'll be an interesting one.
That would be great, yeah.
Yeah. Sheen has said in reply to Harry, no, most investigators don't use Ouija boards. That's true. Not everyone does. It's not in everyone's interest.
No.
Yeah. Marcus has put grounding and help from our personal spirit guides will also help with protection after the board has been in use.
Yeah.
I'm just scanning through these.
Well, that's true, isn't it, Mum? Because it's not a spirit guide, but it's our guardian angels. Sometimes we ask them, sometimes they've come to the board, and let's say we get something really evil through, sometimes we ask them to help us out. I sometimes, let's say, I get you-know-who through, and I can't be bothered with him. Basically, I sometimes call my guardian angel to the board, who is, funnily enough, called Paul. So, and
not me.
No, not you. No.
I remember we were on. Sorry.
No, go on, carry on.
I remember us being on the board once at Plas Tech, and our mate Ian wasn't with us that night. And it come through the spirit of Ian, and we asked his surname, and it spelled his surname, and we were like, "Oh my God, what's happened? Is he dead?"
Yeah, Louise was there.
So we had to ring him up to find out if he was still there.
Yeah.
So
Sam's put something up saying sometimes you can get spirits that can't read, which I can understand from going way back in the past. And then she says she'll ask if there's anyone with them that can read. That's an interesting side to it.
You can get little children through, and they can't understand, as you say, spelling. So you sort of have to ask them yes or no. But as Sam said, you can ask them if they've got an adult spirit with them to help them.
Right, yeah. Julie, you've put a thing up saying it took a lot of sage to help me. What does that relate to? Have you had some sort of strange and unusual experience? Come back to me and let me know. Jean has said, don't always believe who they say they are. They might be somebody else. Yeah. That's a difficult one, because if they're purporting to be someone else, how do you know who's telling the truth, or how do you know what the truth is?
Normally what happens, you could be talking to somebody, and as I say, you can tell that it's not them because the glass starts moving totally different. So
okay.
It can be like, it can be moving nice and smoothly, and then all of a sudden it starts going wild, or totally different feeling, and you can tell that it's not them.
It's happened to us. We thought we've had like a family member through, and then they're getting all the answers wrong. They're going slow, and I'm just like,
and then you say,
"Hi Ted, it's you, innit?" And it's like, yeah.
You can always tell when they're not who they say they are. You know,
Yeah.
they can trick you.
But
Yeah.
what did Julie say? Sorry, I missed
She
it. What
she said it take a lot of sage to help me, but I don't
sage?
know what it's sage. Yes, it's like it's smudging protection.
Yeah.
So I'm not quite sure. She'll come back and tell me what the story relates to. We'll see.
Yeah. If you're there, Julie, tell us.
Yes, come on, Julie, tell us. Kevin has said Lisa was affected by the house, not a board, I think. So he was saying that the
Okay.
house had an effect on her. So I can understand that as well. Yeah, I can understand that. David West says Jess's wife has received scratches from people using the board wrong on events, and she wasn't on it. So he's saying that people can be affected when they're not on the board. So
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
people.
I didn't know that.
Well, this is what David's. Yeah. But then again, you see, relating back to putting the glass upside down on a board, my take and experience was from a friend told me many years ago he was being affected by a spirit in his house. It's a long time ago, and the spirit was turning on light switches and water taps. So he'd get up in the morning, lights were on and water was on, and he got fed up of it. He wasn't worried or concerned about the spirits. It was the fact that the electricity was costing him money. So he said he stood in the middle of the house. Now, he wasn't into ghost hunting or anything like this. He was a very sensible, level-headed guy. And he said to me, he stood in the centre of his house and he just spoke out to spirit. He did have a name for the spirit, but I can't remember what it was now. It's a long time ago. And he said, I don't mind you turning the taps on, but leave the electricity alone. It's costing me money. Now, he didn't say it in a threatening manner. He just said it in a way to say, stop costing me money. He said it in a forceful way.
Yeah.
And he said after that, the light switches were never turned on. So what I'm saying is it's the positive attitude in which you do things make the difference. As
like they're a friend that
yes,
you've known for a while.
If you're nasty or you start being argumentative and that, this is where it can turn horrible. You know, they can, attack you or whatever, scratch you. You just got to be, as you said, when we call out at the King's Head, you always be nice and positive.
Oh yes,
Don't be horrible and negative.
That's right.
That's why I never ask. Do you mean us harm?
No, because you're asking for negativity, then, aren't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know it's ridiculous. Yeah, no. Marcus has said they did have a particularly nasty, particular spirit in the house who was becoming problematic, but didn't put it down to a connection using a spirit board.
Who said
to
that?
Marcus. Yeah, Marcus.
It wasn't Dennis, was it, Marcus?
We'll see if he comes back to me. Jean has said don't always believe who they say they are either. So what they're saying and who they are. The difficulty is figuring out what's right and what's wrong and what's correct.
They pretend to be somebody else.
Yeah.
It's quite easy to pretend to be a totally different person. It could be an evil spirit that's pretending to be a loved one that's come through, and they can be crafty.
Yeah.
Danny has said, Danny, who came on and talked to us last time about Reiki, he was saying that he worked as a tour guide on Sunday afternoons at Plaza Tag, but he said he never had the feeling that there was anything going on that had any connections to spirit boards. So the house itself could have a problem, but I would say it connects to certain people, maybe.
They have a lot of spirits. You don't need to use a spirit board, but sometimes if you want to ask questions, so like at the King's Head, if you go on the spirit board and you want to ask questions about what the names of the spirits are, that's how you can get the names through, and you can start looking more into it. Because if you're just calling out, they're not going to answer you. Sort of, if they might do through your box, Paul.
But they're not going to start having a conversation with you.
That's a bit of a conversation, thing, isn't it? A spirit board. You can get a few answers and ages. If you ask what their ages are or what year they're from, you can actually get, some of the answers you want.
And another side to it's not connected with the board this, but another side to it which I really like was said Steve just put the lady that he and Mal heard was in room 6. It was either in or around the area of room 6, which Harry touched on before. I was obviously there that night, and that I was around with that as well, so I know that took place.
Yeah.
Roger Hornsby has come back and he says he's still curious about Ouija board process. Do you need at least 2 people to get a reaction? But I'll go further and say, I know you two use a board and a glass yourselves. Is there a suitable number of people? Is 2 okay? Is 4 okay? Because I've always thought more than 4 is too many people, but I don't know what your thoughts are.
Yeah, I mean, 5 at the most, I would say. You can actually use it on your own. I mean, if you've got the energy.
It's not going to be dead strong.
No, so, I mean, if you've got the energy. I was at Class Tag once, and it was quite strong, the energy, and I was just doing it on my own. 2 people are better, but no more than 5. I think 5 can just, is the limit. For you
I like doing it with different energies. Like, I like one person to go off and a different person to go off.
Yeah, so you can keep changing the people.
It up a bit.
Yeah. Because some people have more energy than others, and as I said, if you get somebody that's a bit of a skeptic, it'll just stop it coming through. If you've got a lot of people that are really into it, it can work wonders.
David's put something up. He'll have to explain. We use a love kit and we use loads, but I don't know what that means. Sorry, David, for laughing.
I think that's the wrong chat.
yeah, he must have posted in the wrong chat. But it's about being rational and level-headed when things happen. Never call out for negativity towards the spirit world. Keep it nice and real, and just listen to their story. Come on, David, come through with that first.
What a love kit.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
Yes. Did you mean to type that, David?
I think also, I mean, if something, like if you think somebody's getting possessed or acting weird, you've got to have a level head about you to try and calm the situation down.
Yeah.
We've had experiences when somebody was taken over at Plasteg. And Sam and Ian, they were amazing. Sam knew exactly what to do with this lady. So you've got to know really what to do and take the situation at hand. It's no good freaking out and that, because it can happen.
Yeah. It's freaky, but you've got to stay calm.
You've got to stay calm.
Yeah.
Well, I remember seeing a lady on her first visit to Plasteg many years ago, Rose, if you remember her name. And she was affected just by the building. There was no spirit boards being used. Just by the building affected her, and we literally had to. There's 2 of us helped to walk out the building. Her legs had gone completely. Now you might have thought that was a bad experience. To my knowledge, she returned back to Plasteg probably about 10 more times. But every visit became easier and easier for her. She was never affected quite so badly. But I suspect that's to do with the house. Yeah. Anything happening there on the screens, Harry?
Well, I want to show you something. I know you're going to touch base on it. Orbs in a couple of weeks' time or next week or whatever.
Yeah.
So in room 5 today, there's from 12 o'clock until 3 o'clock, there's been no triggers whatsoever. And then let me just see if you can see this.
Yeah. We can see the screen. Yeah.
Right, you can see the screen. So
hold on, Harry, hold on. I'm just going to put you on full screen just to you. There you go. Okay. Carry on.
So, again, with orbs, I'm as just as skeptical. I think it's dust most of the time, but nothing's triggered this all day. And then I'm not sure if you'll be able to see them on the screen.
Oh, right. Oh.
Now
they're coming from the ceiling.
Which it's weird. I mean, there's tons of them all flying around everywhere.
Wow.
There's no draft in that room whatsoever.
No.
And I said there's been no triggers all day, and then suddenly around 3 o'clock, and this went on for a couple of minutes. All these orbs started happening. So
you see that one?
Yeah. I obviously Steve's the main one. I'd like to get his of
What we'll do, Harry, is we'll arrange to capture that clip so as I can rebroadcast it on a stream, and then put that out and invite reaction. Yeah, I'm pretty sure Steve will be skeptical, but quite rightly so. You know, you've got to ask the questions, haven't you? And look for the answers. I mean, we have been getting dust orb triggered recordings for some time, but I made a point to Harry that we've had a non-haunted plastic doll on the table in the throne room for some time, and not a major amount of times. I'm not going to blow the trumpet to say this is fantastic, but a couple of times it appears as if an orb has appeared right out of the doll and moved towards the camera.
Yeah,
so
what would Steve think to that then?
Whoa, challenge there from Holly.
It's weird the way the orbs are coming from that beam, which is, we believe that someone hung themselves in that beam as well. So I don't know. That's a question for you guys.
But what I'll say to anyone that's listening that doesn't know, that the camera system is almost 100% installed and fully functional. Can't quite download the images properly yet, but we'll get to that. And the recording is triggered by movement or motion in the room, and there are various parameters and sensitivities that can change and set things. So it was a totally automated recording. That there wasn't another living person in the room that's done that, which adds a little bit of credit to me, as it's some movement that's semi-transparent or something like that in the room. It's just interesting, very interesting.
That's basically where we're at. That's all the cameras set up now. So
and we just put that on no.
Full screen.
Yeah, there you go. That's full screen. There you go. Yeah. How many is the Harry? I haven't counted. Is it 16, 17, something like that?
Together with yours, Paul, it's just over 20 now.
Oh right, okay.
21, but we just this one here is a thermal imager, and this one is a thermal imager. That at the moment we haven't quite worked out how to use them, but this should be shown in colour. Yeah. But it's showing at the temperature of the room and everything at the moment, which is quite cool.
Yeah. I mean, they are good. They're showing temperature change of a person. You can hold your warm hand up in front of them and you can see the difference. But we do want them to work in colour rather than black and white. Yeah,
most definitely. And obviously, you've got the cellar here as well, which is quite cool. So that's got some. I mean, even I was just watching for 5 minutes today a spider walking across, and it looked really cool, to be fair. So in night vision, but there's some cool images that you need to have a look at on there as well, Paul.
Okay, right. We're just going back to Steve saying he's looking forward to seeing the posted footage. Yes, prepare all your swear words, Steve. David West saying can't wait to get back to the pub. I do have to warn you, David, that it won't be open to stay in anymore, but there are other accommodations close by. So, because there's cameras everywhere, you know. Mal's asking, when does Harry think he'll be holding his first public event?
We're just in the process of getting the new logo, the new website done, and it'll be open to the public for other public events on a Friday, every Friday. But at the moment, I haven't posted that out there yet. But we're just trying to get the pub open first of all, and then I'll concentrate. I should imagine be about a month's time. It'll be open to the public properly then.
Yes. So anybody interested in coming along, either joining our investigations or bringing a group of people in, get in touch with us, let us know, because we're as interested to hear you now and to use the camera systems to see if we detect something. All the various people that can possibly come and visit the building might make a significant difference. So I'm interested in that, especially the way the cameras can record. Steve, I don't know what you're on about. Are we safe to use the toilets?
Yes, there's no cameras in the toilet.
Oh, right. Okay, yeah. Jack's put, apparently you can see Trumps on thermal imaging. Sorry about that. Just out of curiosity, is there a spirit board set up on view of a camera in the King's Head there? If so, we'll see if that gives a reaction. Not at the moment, Marcus, but that will be part of an experiment. I will take my computer to the pub. I can hook about 3 webcams up to this machine.
We
So
actually have got
therefore-
one, Paul. There
Yes.
is one set up.
Oh,
I'll
right.
show you know. Yeah, 1 second.
Okay. But we will do a streaming event. We just need to get me head round.
Yeah.
I just want to see what Harry's shown us there.
So here, that's a spirit board, my slate one.
Oh, I see. Right. Okay. Where is that? Down in the bar, Harry?
That's in the red room.
In the red room. Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, so that's something to keep an eye on then.
Yeah.
I don't know how you saw that, Marcus. Well spotted. Davies put, yes, we'll miss room 6, but they're still great to investigate in the pub. Yeah, the advantage is, David, is to take part in either a Friday night group with the team or a Saturday night with an organised team. All sort of things to be sorted out and worked out yet, but yeah, there'll be interesting times ahead. Marcus put, thanks, great stuff, Harry. That's what he was wondering. I still don't know how he spotted that from the camera system, because they were only small screens that were able to see.
Evil eye.
Yeah, he must have tuned into it. Right, I've run out of questions, and we've run out of questions in the messaging at the side. Anyone else got anything to add before we sort of draw things to a conclusion? Complete silence.
Did you mean us? I thought you meant
Yes.
the people. Right.
Well,
Right.
yeah. Holly and Mandy, if you've got anything else you want to add.
Well, as I say, in a month's time when it starts up and running, come and join us, and we'll do some spirit sessions. And as Harry said, maybe we could do a live experiment with the Ouija board. Get people coming in and asking questions.
Yeah.
See if it does.
Yeah,
give them
that
answers.
would be really good.
That interests me, because from my scientific interest, it would be connected via streaming to people that you can't possibly know, and hopefully if they ask relevant questions or questions that could be answered by the board, it would be interesting to see what comes through and what comes back.
Yeah.
We'll arrange that. We'll have a meeting and sort something out. Harry, sorry, Holly.
Got a matching case.
Glasses case.
Glasses. How on earth are you going to use that? It's not flat. Yeah, well, I mean, what Harry did is setting the board up in front of a camera. That's one of the potentials of the experiments, long-term, ongoing experiments, is to set trigger options, trigger objects up in front of cameras, lock off a room, and yes, we have had marbles set up on a table, but we'll recreate that once everything is finished and set up now. Yeah. So, guys, if everyone is happy, we'll draw things to a close. Mr. Achilles, are you happy?
I'm happy. Thank you very much, folks.
Okay. Thank you, everyone, for joining us on the streaming. I am actually looking for, Marcus reminded me of this before, anyone that's got any insights into spirit guides can come along and give us a talk and insight into spirit guides. I'd be curious about what people say about that. So if there's anyone listening that would like to come on and give us a live chat, let me know, get in touch, and we'll do this all over again.
And a little quick thing, anyone's got any haunted memorabilia that they believe, any items, any dolls that are haunted, we'd love to put them on camera here and see if they interact with the building.
That's a good one. Yes, we've talked about this. Yes. Yeah, get in touch with either me or Harry. Even if we just have them on loan, you can have them back. We'll take care of them. Just let us use them and see if anything happens while they're there. Right, everybody, thank you very much. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you all again soon.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.